Okay, so the best time to check your drawing is when you first come back to your painting. And I've been a little worried about my drawing, honestly, the whole time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to compare some proportions. And what I did was I found out from my photograph that the boat is twice as tall as the boom is long. So, well, geez whiz. And that both the booms are the same height and or length, and the boats are both the same height. So I guess it's just this boat that's too short. So this boat needs to come up more, but maybe just the mast. That would be great. And then I've been a little worried that this boat, well, I probably drew him a little wrong. You know, I got my placement a little wrong. I've got him a little too close, but that might also be okay. So I just want to see, like, how wide is this boat compared to its boom? So it's about 1 and just under a half times. So that's 1. Ah, that's pretty good too. I can't believe it. I just thought it was really bad. And honestly, it still may be. But okay, so maybe I don't really need to redraw anything unless I were going to decide that I'm going to deal with this issue where I've got the boats too close to each other. But right, that just makes for a more exciting race. Okay, so I'm going to come back and I'm going to start with the sky again. And whoa, did not mean to get that much orange. Now I have a very orange sky. And I'm still using that scumbling stroke. And I'm not going to actually break this down into any smaller changes, except that I've got a brush here. Any smaller changes yet. I'm just going to stick with the big areas for now. Look at that. I thought I had so much white, but I just used up all the white I have mixed up here on the sky. So. So the paint just goes down so much better the second time over. The first coat, I don't know, it seems like it's always hard to cover it. All right. So I'm just going to get some more white paint. Whoa. And of course I hit the camera, because why wouldn't I? Putting my white paint out in a long tube, just like it was a ginormous amount of toothpaste on a giant's toothbrush. And that way I can just keep picking off the end of it to keep most of my white paint clean as I'm working. I really got way too much pink, orange in here. And I mix, you know, I do mix on my palette, but it's not like I'm trying to mix up a huge pile of the exact right color. Mostly what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing more paint and just working right into what I started here, trying to make it less pink, adding more, a little bit more yellow and a little bit more white. And that thing I love about a round bristle brush is that you can use it for scumbling, which is just smearing the colors on together, and then you can also use it to make a nice regular stroke. All right, so I need a little more, I need more pink in this, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of that permanent rose and quite a bit more white, and then just start scumbling that into. There's such a beautiful tonal shift of color that happens, or that is happening in this painting, where it just, you can't see in the photograph really where it changes from one color to another. It's just such a beautiful transition. But I've got to have a little more, maybe violet on the horizon. I'll just try that, just a tiny bit. The water is so blue, but the sky behind the boats is not. But that's the thing, the water is reflecting the sky directly overhead, so where it might be much more blue. And I do want to have a contrast between the sky and my water, because I was having trouble with that. And if it's too strong, the sky, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know I'm going to have to work on it again anyway. If I were really going to finish it and stuff, I'd have to work on it again. I see if I can just put a tiny bit of blue into that violet down at the horizon. No matter how easy you think a painting is going to be, there's always things that maybe you don't realize before you start, like, you know, the sails and the sky. A lot of things are really close in value here. And that just makes it more of a challenge. All right, so let's see if I can work on the sails again. And my goal here is to make things better, not to finish. And not to go on, not to break it down into smaller changes until I've done the best job I can with the big areas. So keeping it in the 7 or 8 colors I started with. Golly. Like, who knows anything? I feel like I don't know anything. And the thing is, I don't know why I'm worrying about this. I'm worrying about already about how long it's taking me, and you know, you're having to sit through this and yada yada. But the thing is, you know, it doesn't really matter. I mean, because I'm painting indoors, I could never. How could I ever paint this outdoors with the boats moving and all? And the longer I work on it, just the more paint I'm going to get built up, and the more, you know, painterly it's going to look. And those are all good things, so I try to quit worrying. I just kind of did what I said I wasn't going to, just so you know, in case you missed it, of breaking things down into smaller variations. But any variations between light and shadow, those I think are okay to put in, because those are pretty profound variations. The places where the light is shining maybe has a little more yellow in it, and then the places that are in shadow are a little more blue or violet. And that's because the light from the sun is yellowy still, yellowy pinky, and the light from the sky is pretty blue. All right, this water. Yeah, I thought I had so much blue paint out too, but no, I'm going to have to jump up and walk over to the other table and get more blue paint. So what I do every time before I add more paint to an area is I scrape off the crappy little paint that's left, so that then I have a semi-clean area to put my new paint on, and I don't end up with, you know, half an inch of drying paint on my palette. Okay. All right, gosh, the water. And maybe, like, the thing is, just go back and get the water a little darker overall, and then come back and add the lights on top of it next time when it's dry again. I don't know, nothing I'm making is seeming like the right, beautiful color. Definitely lighter under there. I don't know. I know it seemed like that boat was the right size, but I don't care. I'm making it a little smaller. It's been bugging me. Oh my, okay, so I got it all that covered again, and now I think this got that too green, so I'm gonna try adding a little purple into it. I think that's a little better. Purple and ultramarine blue is what I'm using there. All right, and now the boats. Not sure I've actually made anything better, honestly. It just looks like I got more paint on it. All right, so the boat on the right is kind of a yellowy green. See if I can get that. A little better. And just, I don't know, almost everything I do, I feel like, okay, like, wow, now that's really way too green. So I'm going to pull it back a little bit. Way too yellowy green, so I'll pull it back a little bit. Maybe it's got a little red in it too. Each time I go over my stroke, I'm trying to add a little paint to it. I'm not just trying to go over and over and over my stroke. That's called petting when you do that to your paint. So I'm adding a little more paint and I'm changing the color before I come back over that stroke. Another thing I'm doing is I'm kind of turning my brush over because this, it's a round brush, so it sort of has four sides. So I'm getting some paint from each of the different sides onto it, and it's not so. And there I added some paint, and I can turn that stroke over, and I can make like 3 strokes with that color without just mercilessly going over and over it again, and just slicking it down. And then I added a little more green. All right, so better. I think that's better. And then that boat in the distance, I really just can't tell what color that is, so just going to make it purpler. Purplier. Purpler. And too big, so I'm going to have to come back and cut it down. I can't quite draw it with my brush, this big brush, so I'll come back and cut it down with the background. And then the other boat definitely needs to be darker too, so especially it's not as green on that shadow side. I think it is a green boat, but and then it has that, the top of its, the top of the boat is kind of that same color as that other boat. So maybe something like that. Then I've got my funny little guys, and one of them is wearing a white shirt. He looks very relaxed to this guy on the right, and the other guy looks like he's about to fall out of the boat. Okay, and his shirt is a little darker. I've just got a really tiny brush here. I'm just going to try to get the color of their heads a little better, because they were just kind of a continuation of the dark, whatever dark I was using. And I'm not using any medium. I just did add a little water just to thin this a little bit. And his hand is up somehow, so anyway, that is all just a first sort of a statement about it. And this guy's boat's got the wooden part. Oh, so is the other guy's boat. So I found out why they're called beetle cats. They're cats because they have a cat rigging for the sails, and they're beetles because they were originally built by a company that that was their name, and they made whaling boats. So they made Beetle whaling boats. Oops, got out of control there. So then I'll come back with my ocean color. Okay, so the guy's just not working out too well. But this is kind of how it goes for me. I sort of work on my little people, and then they go away, and then they come back, and they go away, and they come back. And okay. So then I still haven't worked on the other sailboat yet, the sail on the other sailboat, and I need to bring this sail down a little. And not have so much contrast with the light on it. That was a detail too soon. I did too soon, so let's keep it like that for now. Okay, so back to this boat. So I've got I was going to start with the white stripes. Actually, maybe I'll start with the yellow stripes if I can get my brush really clean. Okay, so too bright, so I'm going to add some other stuff to that. yellow like yellow ochre. Okay, and then I'll come back to my white stripes. Yeah, see how my yellow stripes aren't darker than the sky? So I'm going to have to do something about that in a minute. And in terms of how much white I've used now, I've probably used 1.5 inches of white tube if you think about squirting it out in a linear line. So I really use a lot of white. Okay. She said, I'm going to have to get out more white right now. Okay, so all this is too white. It's got to be darker than the sky. But some of this, maybe I could use some of that here. I'll try to lighten that up a little. Okay, so get more white out. Do the same thing. Scrape up the white that was there. I think that was just something I just put out, so I'm going to save that in a little yuck pile, a little dirty white pile, in case I need it for something that's dirty white later. Put out another maybe 3/4 inch of white paint. And now, oh yeah, the blue. I didn't do that yet, but okay. I just feel like I can't get any of the blues anywhere even close to what they are. That's a little more the right value for the white anyway. That was, I used my very yuck pile I just made. No, that's no good. Okay, and then the only thing I haven't worked on yet is that the land back there, and I'm mixing a little bit of red and green to get that color.